Today we are filming a tutorial for the very first Sewn Ideas pattern that I've done on my channel. For the first one we are filming the book sleeve. This is one of her most popular patterns. I have never sewn it before. I've owned the pattern for a long time but just not gotten around to doing it, and I felt like this print would be perfect for the book sleeve. I'm just going to go over some of the materials. I will go over the individual pieces as we sew them up. But for my thread, I'm using Wizardry. I'm using Unicorn Mane. I'm using fabrics from K&A Custom Fabrics and a cotton canvas. I am using a batik. This is from my local quilt shop. Zipper tape is from Mormino. Tag from Heartwood and Hide. I'm using one zipper pull. And I'm using some magnetic snaps from Cam Snaps. All of my materials are interfaced with a medium weight interfacing. I'm choosing to use Sew Fuse from Casting Handcrafted today. And my two main pieces, the front and back main pieces, are going to have a layer of thermolan on them. Nothing else is used as far as interfacing. Other than that, that's all the materials I'm using. So let's go ahead and get started sewing up this pattern. So to get this pattern started, I'm going to start working on the flap. This is the snap tab, however you want to call it. But what I did was I have one piece. This is going to be my exterior, and this is going to be my interior, what I see whenever I lift the flap up. Since my print is directional, I wanted to make sure I cut this one upside down so that when I lift the flap up, it would be in the right orientation. For me, I'm using a riveted snap tab. That means that I do not have to install my magnetic snap or cam snap or anything until after everything's done. If you're using something that needs to be added on before you sew it together, go ahead and do that now. But for me, what I'll do is I'll just place these two pieces right sides together, matching up all sides. I'm going to start sewing here at the top and go all the way around. And then I will back stitch whenever I start and stop using the seam allowance given in the pattern. I'm going to leave this top open, and that will be how I will turn it right sides out. I'm going to use my scissors just to make some tiny snips along this curve just so it spreads better and I'll have a really nice smooth finish here at the bottom. Make sure your snips do not go to your stitches. I'm also going to just angle at the top here just to reduce some of that bulk for whenever I turn it. Now I'm going to turn it right sides out, then I will press it at the iron and top stitch all around. So I had the flap sewn right sides together, turned, and I pressed it over at the iron. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start here at the top and I'm going to top stitch all the way around. I'm not going to top stitch across here because this part will be lost in the seam allowance, but I am going to top stitch about 1/8 of an inch away. I will back stitch, of course, when I start and stop. This is how that tab or strap looks after you have it top stitched. You can see that whenever I flip it up, I will be able to see the correct orientation on the other side. I'm going to wait to add that magnetic snap till the very end. It'll be one of the last things I do, so I'm just going to set this aside for right now. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to start working on that front zipper pocket. This is kind of the main feature, so it'll be the first thing you're looking at. This is called the first lining for zipper pocket, and since I'm sewing up the large version, this is pattern piece 103. The first thing you do is you have it orientated right sides up. You take your zipper tape. I do not have a pull on my zipper tape yet, and you can notice that the zipper tape is longer than this pattern piece. I place it right sides up and just have it centered along that top edge. It is a slant, so make sure it is going evenly across the top. And then I'm just going to base this in place with 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. Now that I have the zipper basted in place, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come with the zipper pocket outside. This is piece 102. I'm using a panel for mine, and I'm going to take that panel piece and I'm going to place it right sides together. So the zipper pocket piece is right sides together with both the zipper and the lining. I'm going to sew along that top edge we just sewed, but this time with the full seam allowance, and I'm going to make sure that I have the sides matching as well. Now that those 3 pieces are attached, I'm going to flip these so that the panel pieces are wrong sides together. And I'm going to top stitch all along the edge I just sewed with the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. I'm going to make sure I'm having a little bit of pressure on the lining and exterior piece so they are the same size at the bottom so I get an even top stitch. This is what we have so far. I want to show you the back of it as well, just so you can see there's the lining. Now we're going to be working along this free edge here of the zipper, the part that doesn't have anything sewn to it. Pull out your pattern piece 104. This is your second lining for the zipper pocket. And I'm using this print for mine. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it right sides up, and I'm just going to lay this piece right sides up directly on top of it. We're going to do that same basic step that we did earlier with the lining, just basting this zipper into place. So I'm going to make sure I'm matching up the edges on the sides and the top and just baste all the way down. After we add that second lining piece basted into place with the zipper, we are going to add the top of the pocket piece. That is number 106, and we are going to have it orientated the way we need it to be. If you are confused, look at your pattern piece and make sure that you have this piece orientated with the words going down. So I'm not going to show the pattern piece on camera, but just double check that. You don't want to sew this inaccurately. What I want to do is I want to kind of center it along the top of the zipper because I want to even them out on both sides. If you have it lined up directly with the lining piece behind it, when you flip it up, it won't be the proper way. It'll be short on this side. So what you want to do is you want to have it oriented the way it needs to go, then flip it down so it's right sides together, but then come to the back and make for sure that you have an even amount in line with your lining piece. There should be just a little bit of overhang on both sides from this piece, so that way when it flips up, it's going to be even. Go ahead and sew these pieces together with the seam allowance given in the pattern. After you have that sewn right sides together, flip it up to separate just the top piece. The lining is going to stay down, so your seam allowance will be pointing up, and you will just flip that top piece to go on top of it. We are going to go back over the machine and top stitch 1/8 of an inch away from the edge we just sewed. This is how it looks from the exterior. Let's flip it over and you can see how it looks from the back. At this point, you should have one angled pocket piece left. That's going to be the open pocket or pattern piece number 105. Go ahead and pull that out. And we are going to have the zipper pocket piece that we've already been working on right sides up. We're going to take this piece and place it together, right sides down. So they're going to be right sides together. We're going to sew along this edge here with the seam allowance given the pattern, and that will connect the top piece and this last lining piece. That's the only 2 pieces you're sewing together. This is what I have now. I'm going to separate these pieces, and I'm just going to finger press that seam we just sewed. You can take it over the iron if you want, and then I'm going to flip that piece down. I'm going to make sure I take the time to roll the seams and add a few clips here. This is going to put the open pocket lining piece number 105 wrong sides together with the other pieces that we just sewed. So what we're doing is creating not only a zipper pocket, but a slip pocket as well. And then we also have a finished edge here at the top. Your lining should line up in the back. Everything should look good on the front. If you're having any kind of problems with things measuring incorrectly or not fitting, it's probably due to maybe using the wrong zipper pocket piece when you shouldn't have, so just double check that. But everything should be matching up perfectly at the bottom. Let's go ahead and top stitch along this edge just to finish this pocket up. Now that we have this completed, I'm going to go ahead and slide on the zipper pull and trim up my zipper tape. I have my front pocket ready to go. Pull on zipper tape trimmed. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull out one of my main panel pieces. This is that 101, pattern piece number 101, and it is called your main body. This piece should have some type of interfacing on it. I'm using a Thermoland, but it should be a little bit firm and stabilized. The book will be inside here, so you want to keep it a little bit padded maybe. What you're going to do is you're going to have this piece right sides up, and you're just going to lay your pocket on right sides up. You are going to line up the sides and the bottom, and then we're just going to baste this in place. You can just baste around with an 1/8 of an inch seam allowance and go ahead and baste the sides and the bottom. We're not basting the top because that's going to remain a slip pocket. This is how my front exterior looks. I'm going to go ahead and get my back exterior completed, and then we will start on getting everything put together. So your back exterior is that same piece with the fleece. It's the other piece that will have the fleece. What you want to do is, if you're going to add a tag, definitely add one of those, but take your strap, snap, flap, tab, whatever you want to call it, and you're going to place it centered on the top so the raw edges are both connecting, but you want it to be that you're looking at the lining. If you already have a magnet attached, you would be looking at the magnet, either the female or male portion, whatever you put on there, but you would be looking at that too. So this is my lining. I have the finished edge towards the bottom, and I'm just going to baste that in place. So now we have our two exteriors completed. What we're going to do is we're going to pull out the lining pieces. We should have 2 lining pieces. I have my 2 lining pieces. Only thing I have on these is a SF101. What I want to do is I'm going to start by just working on the front pocket first, but you'll do the same thing to the back. This same step will be completed on both of these. Take this lining piece, place it right sides together, matching up that top edge. We're just going to sew across the top here with the seam allowance given in the pattern. After you have that sewn together, go ahead and pull these apart and just open that seam. You can press it flat with an iron, or you can just finger press it open. We're not top stitching right now. We're just pressing it open. We're going to repeat those same steps for the back piece and have the lining attached to it as well. I'm going to do those steps off camera. When I come back, I will have the back and the front both attached to lining pieces. I have both the front and the back completed. What we need to do now is we need to take these 2 pieces and put them right sides together. So I'm just going to flip the back onto the front, and what I want to do is by start matching up these seams. I have these seams pressed open, so I'll match them first and just put a clip there. I'll do the same thing on the other side, and then I will just continue clipping all the way around these pieces. Now that I have these pieces put together, we have the linings together, we have the exteriors together. We are going to start sewing down here at the lining. We are going to leave a gap here at the bottom, big enough for you to be able to turn this bag through. So I'll start sewing here, back stitch, and then go all the way around, and then come back down here to finish my back stitching and break the stitches, leaving that opening. So with the full seam allowance given in the pattern, and after we get this sewn, what I like to do and what the pattern says is just kind of trim off a little bit on your corners to give yourself a little bit less bulk there so it lays really nice. And then we just turn it right sides out, close up the opening and top stitch, and then the bag is done. So I'm reaching in and I'm going to turn this right sides out. I'm going to take the time to poke out the corners, press everything flat, and then when I come back, I will top stitch, close up the opening, and I still have to add my snaps. So I have everything turned, definitely have lots of bulk here. I think it's a really good idea to follow the pattern's instructions of keeping all the interfacing out of that seam, just so it folds easier, looks nice, and it's not like a really hard seam. So here is the top of the exterior and the top of the lining. I'm going to put the lining inside, but I'm not going to close up my opening yet because I want to make sure I get a really nice top stitch. I'm also going to turn the bag inside out because I like to top stitch on the exterior. So let's go ahead and do those steps now. I am not even turning the bag all the way inside out because I know I'm just going to flip it back in a minute. I just wanted to be able to get around to top stitch on this top exterior. I'm going to be top stitching and have the flap up. I don't want to top stitch it down. So this is the way I'll be doing it. I'm going to actually just start right here at the flap, slide it under, and I'm going to go about 1/8 of an inch all the way around to have that top stitching completed. Now that that top stitching's done, I'm going to go ahead and pull out the lining and close up that hole. And then the last thing I have to do after this is to just add the snap. So whenever I'm closing up an opening, I just put my fingers in there and kind of pull, and it'll immediately try to go the way you want. You might have to fool with it a little bit, but it pretty much does exactly what it should whenever you pull on it. And I'm just going to sew that closed with about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, just all along the bottom. Okay, I'm going to go off camera and to get the snap placement the way I want and add my magnetic snaps to it. And then we'll come back and look at it and talk about those final steps with this pattern. My buck sleeve from Sewn Ideas is completely done. I love the way this looks. This turned out great. I can see why everyone loves these so much. They come together really quick. And such a fun sew. So I'll definitely be making more of these. But here is a zip pocket, a slip pocket, and then I just lift open the snap and look at how wide that is inside. Super cute. I did add a tag on the back. Love, love, love this pattern. Love the way it looks. My print is from K&A Custom Fabrics. The pattern is from Sewn Ideas. I will have a link to both the pattern and the fabric in my description. This is going to be a gift for my daughter. It's going to be a Christmas gift. I have so many memories of my daughter just being in love with this movie Anastasia. She told me just the other day, even though she's an adult on her own, that she watched it again just the other day. It's one of her favorite movies. And so when I saw this fabric, I knew I wanted to make a book sleeve for her because she's such an avid reader too. And so I hope today in your sewing room that you can sew up something that just reminds you of someone you love and be able to make a gift for them. I know my daughter will love this one. Thanks so much, and I hope you have a wonderful day.